You don't need a lot of money to start investing. In today's episode, we'll break down how you can start on any budget. Welcome to Get Started Investing, a show that helps you make the most of your money. My name is Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How are you going?
I'm very good, Bryce. Very excited for this episode. We love breaking down barriers to investing and making it more accessible for everyone here. That is the point of this show, Get Started Investing. And one of the biggest barriers, one of the things we hear over and over again is I don't have enough money to get started. Today, we're going to change that thinking. Today, we're going to show you how you can get started with literally 1 cent.
Yeah.
That's not hyperbole. You can get started on any budget.
Love that. Well, before we jump in, a huge thank you goes to our long-term partner at Get Started Investing, BetaShares Direct, who make it easy to start investing.
Get zero brokerage on over 300 ASX shares and all ETFs. Choose from more than 10 ready-made portfolios or build your own from scratch.
With automated investing, you can set, forget, and grow. Plus, simple tax and performance reporting makes it easier than ever to stay on top of your money.
It's a platform unlike anything else in Australia. Just search BetaShares Direct and set up your account in minutes.
BetaShares Capital Limited is the issuer. Consider the PDS and TMD at betashares.com.au to see if the product is right for you. Investing involves risk.
All right, Bryce, I don't have enough money to get started.
Well, let me tell you something, Ren, you do.
It's something we hear over and over again.
It is.
I hear it from my family,
Yeah.
from my extended family, cousins. I hear it from friends, hear it from random people who say, oh, Equity Mates, I've heard of you. It's not for me though.
No.
I'm not an investor.
Yeah, investing is for the rich.
Yeah.
That's the perception.
I don't earn enough to listen to your show.
No.
Our show's free.
That's true. Well, look, we're going to dispel that myth and help you break down that barrier if you are sitting there thinking that you do not have enough money to get started investing. And today we're going to be covering the minimum investments, or understanding what the minimum investments are to get started, how you can get started with micro investing, the minimum investments at some of the major investment platforms that are available, and why small investments can grow into big goals. And then, of course, the dirty little secret of choosing a broker.
Ooh, I wonder what that's going to be. All right, let's start. Understanding investment minimums. So every platform that you invest on has a minimum investment amount. And it's important for people who are new to investing. The Australian Securities Exchange, the ASX, is where shares and ETFs are bought and sold. But you can't go directly to the ASX and sign up there and say, I want an account to start buying shares.
Yep.
You have to go through a platform, often called a broker. And all of these brokers have different minimum amounts. Now, traditionally, the standard minimum amount was $500. And that's because that's the ASX's minimum parcel size. However, different platforms have worked out different ways to lower that amount, mainly through custodial arrangements rather than CHESS-sponsored platforms. If that's a bit of jargon you're not familiar with, we've done plenty of content on that, and we'll link another episode in the show notes. It's a rabbit hole we probably don't need to go down right now.
No. I guess the big circuit breakers for this was micro-investing. Ren. Back in the day, I remember it was Acorns when we just left university. But it's now called Raise here in Australia. I think one of the pioneers, I would say, of micro-investing here in Australia at least.
Definitely. And the principle behind micro-investing is rather than one person putting the $500 in to get the minimum parcel size, it basically crowdfunds everyone's small investment amounts to reach that minimum parcel size.
Yes.
And so what it meant was that people could invest from a few dollars. Well, none of these micro-investing apps have got to cents yet.
Raise Roundup is cents. $4.50 to $5, you can round up 50 cents.
But do they take it at that amount, or do they wait until you have $5?
They wait until you have $5.
Okay,
Yeah, but
okay.
you can keep.
Got you
You
on a
can get
technicality.
started with. You can get started with
Well,
rounding
there
up
is one.
cents.
There is a platform where you literally can invest with a cent, but we're saving that to the end.
Nice.
So there are 4 micro-investing platforms in Australia that you should know about if you're interested in this space. They are Raise, Spaceship Voyager, CommSec Pocket, and Perla Micro. So let's go through them quickly and talk about their minimum investment amounts.
So Raise, the minimum investment is $5, but as I said, you can micro invest cents until it hits the $5 amount, and then it will invest. I know that's confusing, but
yeah.
it does take your roundups. It's $4.50 a month for balances under $20,000. Spaceship Voyager is the next. So minimum investment for plans or for recurring is $5, but they have zero minimum for one-off investments.
Okay, yeah. So I was wrong earlier. If you want to invest from cents with microinvesting, you can Spaceship Voyager. You can't just set up a plan recurring to do it. You just have to keep doing one-off investments.
Depending on the product, it's $2 to $3 a month for balances over $100, depending on the portfolio. What else, Ren?
So CommSec Pocket, they are a $50 minimum. They don't have ongoing account fees. They just have $2 brokerage cost every time you buy or sell. And then finally, Perla Micro, you can invest from $1. Their fees, they have no fees for balances under $100, and then it starts at $1.70 a month, and it can increase from there. Now, these 4 micro-investing apps are great, but their investment menus are limited. And so they give you, maybe sort of 5 to 10 managed funds or ETFs that you can choose to invest in. So you don't get the full range of shares and funds and ETFs that are out there. You get a more condensed investment menu, but they're a great place to get started.
Absolutely. Seen it time and time again.
They make investing easy.
Yeah.
They make it a habit. For platforms like Raise, where it rounds up your spending, it's something that you don't have to think too much about. So we love micro-investing in the sense that it gets more people invested.
Absolutely.
But at some point, in our opinion, a lot of people feel they graduate out of micro-investing apps. They want more choice, they want more control. And so that then leads to the platforms where you can invest in everything, well, at least in everything in Australia, the brokers. And the good news is you don't need a lot of money to use these platforms as well.
No, and some of them are very common household names. The first one we're going to call sort of tier 3. We're going to call them tier 3 because they are all a $500 minimum because, as Ren alluded to earlier, they are CHESS sponsored. Now, the names CommSec, Stake, NabTrade, SelfWealth, and Perla, all $500 for ASX shares or ASX investing. Stake, for example, it's a minimum of US $10 for US shares. So for Australian shares on those platforms, minimum is $500.
Yeah. Now we've got tier 2. So these are $10 minimums. Think about that jump from $500 minimum to $10 minimum.
Huge.
Think about how much more accessible that makes this world. So there are 2 platforms that offer $10 minimum investment for Australian shares. The first is BetaShares Direct, and then the second is Superhero. Superhero also offer $10 minimum investment for US shares. And with BetaShares Direct, there is one quirk. So $10 minimum for one-off investments, $100 minimum if you're setting up like a recurring investment plan. So that's tier 2. But then, Bryce, there's one platform that sits above them all in tier 1.
Yes, and that is Sharesies, New Zealand-based broker, obviously available here in Australia. They don't have, well, technically their minimum investment is as little as 1 cent.
Yeah, they don't have a minimum.
They don't have a minimum.
Yeah. You can invest whatever you want.
Love that. Making investing accessible.
The idea that you don't have enough money to get started, hopefully we have dispelled that myth. Look, and there are heaps more platforms out there, more than what we've just spoken about, but these are the main ones that are popular in the Equity Mates community. So that's the first myth dispelled. I don't have enough money to get started. But the question that naturally arises out of that is it worth it? If I only have a small amount of money to invest, is there any benefit from actually starting to invest?
It may not feel like small amounts are worth it, but let us tell you, it is.
Yes.
And Ren, this is another misconception that we find, that investing small dollar amounts, well, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get rich from putting $1 in.
Well, yes, we are here to change your mind about that. Something we like to say is try and get rich slow, because you just might do it, even if you're investing small amounts. If you're thinking long term and you're thinking investing consistently, you can build a meaningful portfolio, and we have the numbers to back it up. So let's get into it. Bryce, how much is a coffee costing you these days?
Me personally, $7.70.
What?
Yeah, it's a Gia. I don't buy coffee anymore.
Well, I wouldn't if it was
The
$7.
average person, I would probably say $5 because I've gone double shot and soy. I get stunned on
Okay,
both
well,
of
I'm
those.
glad you said $5 because that's the number we've used for this worked example. So let's say $5 a day for coffee.
Yeah.
And let's say rather than buying a coffee, you invest that money instead. What's the share market going to return? Well, between 1900 and today, 125 years of Australian share market history tells us the average annual return with dividends invested is 13%. Now, people think 13% is a pretty punchy number. They think it might be too aggressive. But I mean, it's 125 years of stock market history. Or if you want to go more recent stock market history, we've just ticked into a new financial year. Last financial year, the Australian share market with dividends invested returned, do you want to guess?
14%.
14%, even better than 13%. So look, let's use 13% to illustrate the example. If you invested that $5 a day rather than buying the coffee, after 10 years, you would have invested $18,250. But with the stock market returning 13% a year, you would have a portfolio of $33,633. You've basically doubled the amount of money you invested. Now, that's not bad, but I'm not feeling rich. So let's extend the timeline. Remember the saying, try and get rich slow and you just might do it?
Yep.
Let's go to 30 years. So after 30 years of making coffees at home and in the office rather than buying them, you would have invested $54,750. But your portfolio would be worth $535,284.
You've 10-bagged.
You'd have more than $500,000 and you 10x'd your money.
I mean, that's only with $5 as well.
Yeah, imagine if you did $7.70.
I know. Imagine if you did $7.70, or imagine if you started with 5 and then got comfortable and then went to 7 and then went to 10 and then all of a sudden you're doing 100, 200, and the story goes from there. I think you can understand that it starts to build up pretty quickly. And the great news is you can get started very accessible. So that $500,000 there, Ren, that's the flexibility that everyone hopes for later in life.
Yeah, well, I just did it quickly. I couldn't do $7.70, but I did $8. So all I did was change the $5 to $8. After 30 years, it went from $535,000 to $856,000.
There you go.
So I think that again just illustrates like the small changes we make today, the extra dollar we find to invest, the coffee we make at home and the money we put to work, whatever it is, they really do compound over time. So if we can build those consistent habits, even if it's a small dollar amount, it can really add up over time.
Yes. Now, we teased at the start, there's a dirty little secret when it comes to choosing a broker that we wanted to close out with. So let's do it. I think we've spoken a lot today about some of the barriers that people face when they're entering, not feeling like they have enough money. The second most common is, which broker should I choose?
Yes.
And people really stumble here and spend, in our opinion, way too much energy, emotional energy, figuring out which broker they should start with.
Yeah, so we've spoken about 12 investment platforms in the first half of this episode. We spoke about 4 micro-investing apps, and then we spoke about 8 brokers. Now, micro-investing apps are a little bit different. As we said earlier, they have limited investment menus. But when you get to brokers that offer you access to the Australian share market, here's the dirty little secret. They're all offering you access to the same thing. Let's take the most popular ETF in Australia, the Vanguard Australian Shares ETF, ticker VAS. Whether you buy it from BetaShares Direct or Stake or Superhero or CommSec, you're buying the same thing.
Yeah.
And VAS is going to be what ultimately drives your investment performance more than what platform you bought it through.
Yeah.
And the analogy that I think helps people understand it is, let's say you're buying a car, and let's say, what car are you rocking these days, Bryce?
Honda Jazz.
Honda Jazz.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to buy a Honda Jazz. It doesn't matter if you buy a Honda Jazz from Honda of Redfern or Honda of Newtown or Honda of Erskineville. Like, with the dealership that you buy it from, what you're buying is the Honda Jazz. And that's the same when it comes to investing. The broker that you buy it through is different, a different app that you're opening, a different sticker on the door. But ultimately, what matters is the investment you make or the car that you buy.
Yeah. So long story short, don't spend too much emotional energy trying to choose. Mainly look at the fees and that it gives you the investment capabilities that you need, auto investing or access to the markets, and then just get on with it. There is no lock-in contracts with any of them.
Yes,
that's the good thing.
yes.
You can also sign up to all of them for free and get a sense of what it looks like under the hood. And then if you're not happy with it or something better comes along, which inevitably it might, you can transfer your shares quite easily these days between brokers, pretty hassle-free.
Yeah. Now, what you said there around you know, compare fees. Like if we're going to torture this car dealership analogy, you know, as you would play car dealers off against each other to get the best price on the Honda Jazz, you should look at these apps and see what the best fees you can get.
Yeah.
And I think to close it out, obviously our long-term partner here on Get Started Investing is BetaShares Direct. We should give them a shout out because they are the only platform right now that offers $0 brokerage for Australian shares and ETFs. So big shout out to them. They are the car dealer that is offering you the lowest price at the moment. But yeah, have a look, shop around, but remember the important thing is what you're buying, not the platform you're buying it through.
That's it. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode today. We hope that you are feeling inspired to start investing. If it has got you motivated, you can download our ETF Investing Handbook. It's a free resource that will take you from zero to everything that you need to know to build a portfolio of ETFs. The link will be available in the show notes or description below. Or go out and buy our book, Don't Stress, Just Invest. In 4 simple steps, we'll get you set up with an investing strategy that will be more than you need for the rest of your life. So, Ren, that's it for today. We'll pick it up next episode.
Sounds good.